President Joe Biden tapping Vice President Kamala Harris to lead the administration's efforts to end the crisis at our southern border. Joining us now to talk more about the Biden administration's controversial immigration policies is former acting CBP commissioner and visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Mark Morgan, former agent in charge of DEA Special Ops, Derek Maltz, and former Milwaukee Sheriff David Clarke. Good morning to all. Thanks so much for being with us. What a good panel this is. Mark, I'd like to start with you and ask you basically the most obvious question. Vice President Harris, she's been tapped to run the show down there. She has said in the past that she wants to decriminalize illegal border crossings. One unaccompanied minor is crossing the border right now every 2.5 minutes. Is she the right person for this job?
Absolutely not. And so let's back up a little bit. So we have 3 cabinet level officials, Department of HHS, DHS, and Homeland Security. And clearly, apparently, according to this administration, those individuals are not enough to handle what they're calling a challenge or a seasonal surge that we see. So they have appointed Vice President Harris now as the de facto border czar because we all know it's a crisis. And let's go a little bit deeper real quick. So in 2018, as a senator, she referred to ICE as the KKK and accused them of being motivated by racism. Then as a presidential candidate, she was point blank asked, should people that violate immigration law be deported? She said, absolutely not. As an attorney general for California, she bragged that she directed the sheriffs not to comply with lawful ICE detainers. And to wrap it up, she said that ICE should be completely dismantled and start from scratch. That is now our new border czar to handle the crisis.
And let's not forget, she was, at least in 2020 during the campaign, we're talking about a candidate that was hugely unpopular in her own state, even though she represented that state in the U.S. Senate. Sheriff Clarke, I'd like to ask you, senior White House officials are now in Mexico and Guatemala. This week, still no President Biden at the border, still no Kamala Harris. She actually made a joke about it. How did the Biden brain trust not see this coming 64 days ago? Because back on January 20th, let's be honest, we did not have this problem.
John Wayne once said, life is hard, but it's harder if you're stupid. And what happened here is the Biden people came in, didn't know what they were doing, and they inserted their extreme leftist open border ideology into security policy. I've been to the border 3 times, Big Bend sector, the Rio Grande sector, and the El Paso sector. And it's a challenge to begin with. But when you insert your extremist open border ideology into security policy, it's a volatile mix, and it blew up on them. So they created, this is a crisis of their own creation. And now the same people who broke the border are going to try to fix it? No, those are the last people that should touch this. They should have left well enough alone. It was working. President Trump had finally gotten his arms around this thing and fixed it. The Democrats come along and they broke it.
Derek Maltz, good to see you again.
Hey, Rob, how are you, buddy?
I'm well. I think the sheriff makes a good point there. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. The Border Patrol has requested help. They are not partisan. They say the drug cartels are now using kids as decoys to get people across the border. This has been going on now for more than a month. At what point is this problem going to be too big to get under control?
Well, actually, it looks like it's already too big. I mean, they're using the military bases to house these migrants, right? They have the convention center in Dallas and San Diego. I mean, one thing that's positive is Harris at least now is changing the rhetoric, and she says we have a huge problem. I mean, it's pretty obvious if you send FEMA to the border, that's like an emergency disaster agency, that we have a big problem. But look at the drugs. 361% increase in fentanyl seizures by the brave men and women on the Border Patrol. I mean, that's more fentanyl that they've seized this year already in 5 months than the entire last year. Fentanyl's killing Americans at record levels. Like, why isn't anybody talking about that? Thank you, Rob, for bringing it up all the time. But fentanyl is put now in these counterfeit pills, and these kids have no idea what they're taking, right? DEA's putting out warnings. Mainstream media is not covering it. We have a serious situation. It's not just border crisis, but a national security crisis. And by the way, one last thing, and Mark is much more qualified to talk about it than I am, but look at these gotaways. They have hundreds of thousands that it seems like coming in. We don't even know who these people are. Are they sick? What's their motive? Where are they going? What are they trying to do in America? We don't even know who they are.
No, such good points. And that you led me right into my next question. You know, Mark, you were the former acting commissioner of the Border Patrol. Your expertise is second to none. According to one report, multiple people on terrorist watch lists have been caught at the border. Last week it was 4, now it's 6. My question is, how many people do you think on these watch lists have gotten in that we don't know about?
So that's the key. And Derek's right. And so Sheriff Clarke, we don't know. And now, look, this is very important because as the number of families and unaccompanied minors increase, Border Patrol agents are pulled off the line away from their national security job to do their humanitarian daycare services that's needed for the unaccompanied children and the families. And that leaves wide swatches of the borders wide open. The Secretary continues to lie to the American people when he says the borders are secure. It's absurd. The men and women of Border Patrol know it's a lie. And every single day, the border is less secure, and you're having criminal aliens get through. You're having individuals on the terror screening database get through, as well as Derek said, drugs. Look, we're going to get to a point where we may actually see seizures go down because agents are being pulled off the line and more drugs are getting through than we even have an awareness of. And one last point, too, that I want to foot stomp on what the sheriff said.
Yeah.
Look, this administration was warned. I was there, Rob. Our experts, the border security experts, warned them that if they did what they've done, they would create this crisis. And their ideologic hubris made them ignorant. They ignored it. And now we have this crisis that's upon us.
That's a perfect word for this. It's hubris from the Biden administration. Joe Biden blamed Donald Trump as recently as yesterday at the White House. Sheriff Clarke, final question. Our new Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is urging people not to come to the border now, saying the border is closed. They're also taking out radio ads in countries throughout South America and Central America in Spanish and Portuguese to urge people not to come to the border. And to me, that's putting a Band-Aid on a shark bite.
Oh, without a doubt. Look, they put out the call. This is all done with a wink and a nod anyway. You know, all this stuff with ads and telling people not to come. They do this intentionally. This is what they wanted. And now you watch the amount of money they're going to probably done through Harris. Watch the amount of money they go to Congress and ask for to fix this problem. Look, U.S. sovereignty is being threatened here. And if you're going to be a sovereign nation, you have to have borders and you have to be willing to protect those borders. And we're simply not doing it right now. This is a disaster.
Sheriff Clarke, I agree with you. Panel, this is one of the panels I've enjoyed a lot. This was terrific, great information. Thank you very much, Mark Morgan, Derek Maltz, and Sheriff David Clarke. We appreciate it.